Iran, seventh day of anti-regime protests. Cities throughout Iran are witnessing ongoing demonstrations, protests, and an all-out nationwide uprising, entering its seventh consecutive day on Thursday. Tehran and many other cities are home to ongoing protests as the Iranian people have risen in 148 cities across the country. Protesters are directly voicing political demands by targeting senior regime officials and the entire mullahs apparatus. In their slogans, protesters are demanding the downfall of the Iranian regime and targeting Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, regime's President Hassan Rouhani, and the Revolutionary Guards as the root of the Iranian people's ongoing miseries. Maryam Rajavi urges Iranian nation to rise in revolt for freedom. Iranian opposition leader Maryam Rajavi has called on the people of Iran to rise up in revolt against the mullahs regime. In a message to the Iranian nation on Wednesday, Mrs. Rajavi said it was the patriotic duty of all Iranians to support the ongoing protests, the rebellious youth, and the resistance units of the main opposition group, People's Mujahedin organization of Iran. Today, not only Iran's history and nation, but the entire world is admiring our rising compatriots in Iran. But Khamenei, the mullah's bloodthirsty leader, used the words hooligans and thugs 15 times in his delirious speech on November 17, which lasted only a few minutes, in order to vilify them. Mr. Rajavi continued, "If defying the rule of religious dictatorship and rising up to establish freedom, democracy, and equality are considered mischief and insecurity for the mullahs regime, then Iran's rebellious youth, resistance units, and all the Mujahedin and freedom fighters are proud of having done so." The Velayat-e religious dictatorship has reached the end of the line. Today, the cries of the people of Iran can be heard from the streets of Tehran, Esfahan, Kamiaran, Sirjan, Behbahan, Shiraz, Marivan, Bukan, Karaj, Khorramshahr, and Mashhad. They are crying out, "Dictator, shame on you, let go of our country." They're chanting, "The mullahs must get lost," said Mrs. Rajavi. Iran's uprising. At least 251 killed, 3,700 injured, and 7,000 arrested. 85 martyrs identified. The People's Mujahedin organization of Iran's network inside the country has recorded 251 martyrs killed by the regime's suppressive forces in 20 cities during the nationwide uprising. It is publishing the names of 85 of the martyrs. The number of wounded protesters during the uprising has reached 3,700. Most of the martyrs were youth or teenagers. Among them were teenagers as young as 13 years old. Most were shot in the head or chest by the regime's snipers. More international support to the ongoing uprising in Iran. As the nationwide protests in Iran continue, there have been further international reactions to the regime's brutality in oppressing the Iranian people, and the people's bravery in continuing their protests. US President Donald Trump warned the mullah regime on the use of violence against protesters and shutting down the internet. Iran has become so unstable that the regime has shut down their entire internet system so that the great Iranian people cannot talk about the tremendous violence taking place within the country. They want zero transparency, thinking the world will not find out the death and tragedy that the Iranian regime is causing, he said. On Thursday, the US Vice President Mike Pence voiced Washington's support for the Iranian people's uprising. As Iranians take to the streets in protests, the Ayatollahs in Tehran continue to use violence and imprisonment to oppress their people. The United States' message is clear. The American people stand with the people of Iran, he said. Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, expressed her support for the Iranian people's uprising on Twitter. 106 protesters in 21 cities were killed over the course of the protests in Iran. Hundreds of people have been injured and more than 1,000 arrested. We should all stand with the Iranian people who desperately want a better life away from the Iranian regime.